Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Quiet Warrior. Hey, everybody, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior. That's Tom Dutta like butter. And welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. You know, listen, we're LinkedIn, we're Facebook, we're YouTube and Twitter. This is the next generation of broadcasting, and we're live now. So if you're on any of those feeds, make a comment in the chat field, give us a message, put a question in there. Be happy to talk to you throughout the interview. The show is growing, everybody, and I thank you. It's only because of you and the viewers that we are growing. So get into YouTube. We're going to ask you to subscribe to the Tom Dutta YouTube channel. Click that little bell so you get future notifications. The more we do that, the more we get the word out about the show, and we can honor interviews such as the great interview we're about to do today with my special guest. If you're looking for the Quiet Warrior Show, we're everywhere. We're on iTunes, YouTube, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher Radio. I've lost track. The last time we looked, we were downloading in 18 countries. It's pretty exciting. Now, I have another announcement to make. It starts with thinking about the world. We live in a challenging world, wouldn't you agree? But wouldn't it be cool to bring parents and children together like that in a time where children need nurturing and love, to tell stories, to maybe do something creative? If you like that message, watch this. Well, did you like that video? My third book came out in May. It dropped in May. This was an inspiration from my doctoral degree. I'm doing that through London University and my professor, Kate. The idea behind the book was to create an environment for children to come together, who they can color, parents can tell wonderful stories, pass down information from generations. The book title is called The Talanoa Way, Pet Pal Coloring Stories. The word Talanoa came from my doctoral research. It's a Fijian word. Basically means to talk, sit in a circle and tell stories. Pretty fantastic. The last thing I want to tell you about that is we're so excited. We just were notified we've won an International Impact Book Awards. Book's only been out a little bit. And this is for children's education. We ran it in a category, a lot of competitive, very honored. We'll be putting this sticker on the books. And by the way, if you want one of those books autographed by me for your grandchild or a little somebody in your life, connect with me through my website. You can find this book on Amazon. Now that we've got all the announcements out of the way, let's get to the real reason why we're here. I'd like to introduce to you the very special guest I have. Now, usually we'll record the guest bio ahead of time. We'll play it later, kind of fake news kind of thing. Now, this man is so accomplished. We're going to take a minute to tell you about just what he's done in his life. And we'll bring him into the studio. I'm incredibly honored to introduce you to Mr. Mike Harcourt, our guest. Now, Mike was dedicated his life to public service. It's over 25 years, making lasting impacts on the communities across British Columbia and Canada. For those of you who are internationally watching us, we're on the west coast of Canada, British Columbia, the most beautiful place in Canada, in my opinion. Mike started his career by establishing Canada's first storefront law office. I'm sure we'll find out what that's all about. And he set up UBC's legal advice clinic. From there, he was elected as Alderman of Vancouver for 4 terms and went on to become the city's 3-term mayor for 1980 to 86. Are you tired just listening to that? This man worked hard. But it didn't stop there. As mayor, Mike was instrumental in shaping Vancouver into one of the world's most livable cities through visionary land use and planning strategies. As his wife likes to say, and I read it in one of his books, if you ask Mike to talk about sustainable strategies, he'll talk to you all day long. But his political career culminated when he served as the 30th Premier of British Columbia from 1991 to 96. And I remember back then, my dad had NDP for me sign on the front lawn. Brings back my memories. But one thing Mike did, which was remarkable, is he safeguarded more than 12% of BC's land base, creating 500 new protective areas. In 2002, Mike wrote a book, his memoir, and we'll be talking about it. I'm holding up here, Plan B. His life took an unexpected turn with a devastating fall that left him partially paralyzed. But despite that tragedy, Mike's resilience, his determination shone through. And when I read this book, it was like being in the journey, and I think you're going to really enjoy the story today. Since that accident, Mike's become a leading advocate for spinal cord research, quality of life for people with disabilities. In fact, he's worked with Rick Hansen Foundation and done many things, chaired several advisory groups dedicated to improving your lives, through research and collaboration. His lifelong dedication to Aboriginal rights touched my heart. Economic development continues to be part of his lasting legacy. We might actually find out more about what his legacy is when we talk to him today. So now I'd like to bring him on screen. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, Mike Harcourt.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be with you.
It's great to be with you too. Did you get tired listening to that list of accomplishments, or did you recall?
It was a long time to be before the public and involved in public service, which really is what it's all about. Is it's trying to be a servant of the people and help them with solutions to the problems that plague us, whether it's affordable housing or drug addiction and the fentanyl and shortages in the hospital doctors. And so I enjoyed the 25 years and tried to get out, though, at the right time. That's a lot of politicians don't pick the right time. And I decided to get out before the posse caught up with me after 24 years and 9 election wins in a row. I thought, don't press your luck, Harcourt. Move on.
Well, I like that. And everybody, there's a teaching moment on the show, when to get out. And I remember saying to somebody, when is staying too long, too long? I read somewhere in one of your books, Mike, you said, I think it was the memoir you wrote, we'll get into that a bit, I'm never going back to politics. But it was wrapped around that was something I thought was very inspiring, which is your reason why. So, but here's what we're going to do today. How many people do you think know the real Mike Harcourt, know what's below the surface of politics? Do you think the general public has a good sense of who you are as a man?
I think they do. I think people know that I'm pretty transparent, pretty straightforward in what I'm talking about and how I express myself. And when I say I'm going to do something, usually I do it.
Absolutely. Your track record proves that. So what if we could take you into a place called Plato's Garden? Would you like to go into Plato's Garden and have a conversation? Sure.
I studied political science at UBC and of course, the famous dialogue between Plato and Aristotle and the two different approaches they took and Socrates and political science 200, matter of fact. So I'm glad to come into the garden.
Well, I'm already blown away. When I brought this new segment called Plato's Garden into the show, Mike, there's many people who say, what's that? I've heard of Plato. So let me set this up. And again, everybody, you're going to hear some instructional things because we're live peeking in the studio. We'll clean all this up. So Mike, I want to set this up so the audience knows what we're doing here. Watch this. Well, welcome back to Plato's Garden. Mike, it's fun to have you here in Plato's Garden. Now, you said just a few minutes ago you knew about Plato and Aristotle. I was sharing with Mike offline here that I'm doing a doctoral degree, Middlesex University in London. And Mike, one of the things that we've learned through that is there's something called criticality or critical thinking. And in looking at your career, I think you do that really well. For the sake of the audience, I want to explain this, that we tend to go fast. So when we're in a studio like this and we're, say, a politician like you, a business person like me, we like to talk about one thing. Let's just talk about politics. Let's talk about my passion. But what if we could do critical thinking where we talk about many different areas and connect the dots? Tim Morton wrote a book called The Connectivity of Thought. And so I'm going to take you into 3 areas here. And the whole interview will be weaved through these 3 areas. So we get to hear a lot more about Mike Harcourt. So Mike, the first area is the macro. Macro is the global world. So at the time that your life was evolving and when there was a shift that happened, what was happening in the global world? The second area is what we call meso. So what was happening in the sector? In this case, I might suggest it was politics. It could be now being a media personality. You've written some books. And the third one, which is my favorite, Mike, is personal. And I like this one because we don't always talk about it, but personal is always going on with Mike during these shifts. And if we hear all about that, there's a great saying that the more we know about you, Mike, the more I know about myself. So you ready to play in Plato's Garden? I'm going to throw a question out there. We're just going to get you to riff on it. This first theme of the interview is starting with his roots and his early life. So Mike, here's something I'm going to throw at you. You were born in Edmonton, but you really made your mark here in British Columbia. Can you share a bit about your early life and how growing up in such a diverse environment shaped your views on leadership and the community?
Well, that's true. I was born in Edmonton, and my dad was born in Calgary. My mother was born in Lethbridge. And so we're like most British Columbians. We decided to come here and leave Alberta and come to beautiful BC when I was just about a year and a half after my dad had finished as a officer in the Canadian Navy, destroyer escorts and frigates in the North Atlantic, chasing Nazi subs. And we moved out to BC, to Vancouver. And the early years in and around Vancouver, a number of different schools, and spent on top of that 5 years in Victoria, living in Oak Bay. And I went to Willows Elementary and Lansdowne Secondary or middle school, and then Oak Bay High for a bit, and then back to Vancouver. Ended up graduating from Sir Winston Churchill High in South Van, and then out to UBC. And it was basically shaped by, first of all, great parents that didn't lay a heavy hand at all. Let me pretty well pick the life that I wanted and do the things I wanted to do, and then basically got out of the way and let me do them. And what I loved doing was meeting people, socializing with people, and playing sports. And so I did a lot of different sports and had a lot of different pals and all the schools that I went to. And from there out to UBC, where I was on a basketball scholarship, academic basketball scholarship, and discovered one of life's hard lessons. It's called the Peter Principle, where you realize you just hit your level of incompetence. And when I was a 6'3", 180-pound forward, the coach and the freshman team looked at me and said, "Harcourt, you're just too bloody small and short. You can't, you're only 6'3", 180 pounds. And the guys we're going to be playing down in Western Washington, Seattle University, and that they're 6'8", 240 pounds. They're going to kill you, So either you convert to being a guard or it's time to move on. So I learned that lesson, and then settled down into I was doing pre-med at the time, and taking a lot of sciences, and discovered that maybe that wasn't made for me, and so I switched from pre-med and physics and math and chemistry and biology and that, and from wanting to be a doctor to arts, taking an arts degree. and ended up in political science and English for a BA at UBC. Joined a fraternity out there, Beta Theta Pi, and enjoyed that. It just was thinking of becoming a political science professor and taking a PhD, and then thought, I'm not sure I want to do that. So I thought, well, maybe I should take law. So I did, and I got into UBC law. And while I was there, I became very interested in the way that the democracy worked and the rule of law worked, and what it was like to in legal philosophy.
Yeah.
And there's two types of jurisprudence, legal philosophies in existence that we learned about. One's called positivism, which is that law is based on rules, and the other one is natural law, that law is based on values and based on people consenting to agree to laws that backs up their values. And from there, I kind of thought, well, my values are basically social democratic, and focused on laws there to protect and help people, not punish them unless they deserve it for doing a crime. And that led me into being interested in making sure that the legal system works for all people, which is how I got started at the storefront lawyer.
Well, okay, so we let you catch your breath there. Everybody following this story. So, my mind's going on journeys in different places. I love the book, and we'll get into it more. But Mike, this book that you've written just for the audience, Plan B, One Man's Journey from Tragedy to Triumph. There's so many nuggets in this book. I couldn't put it down. Some of the things I just want to read something out of it because you were talking about in your early years. I'm just going to read something here. Tell me what you think. It says, while the couple honeymooned on the Sunshine Coast in 1971, Becky was teaching school. Mike's political career had yet to take seed, still a gray flannel gorilla on the fringes of power. And then it says, the couple honeymooned at Lord Jim's Lodge just past Seashelt on her first night, where, do you remember who was playing in the bar? Because Becky recalls that. You remember?
Well, who was in the bar?
Who was playing? There's some music.
Joni Mitchell.
That's right.
And she was in there with her boyfriend, who was an Australian racing car driver. And they were just sitting right beside us by chance. And we got started talking. We said, well, we got married today, and we're spending our first night here at Lord Jim's Lodge, which is a beautiful place up just outside of Seashell, Sunshine Coast. And they got quite excited and said, well, we've got to celebrate by getting a bottle of mead.
Mead? I don't know what that is.
Well, it's a liquor that is an ancient British Celtic liquor that's used to celebrate weddings and stuff.
Interesting.
So we sat there and talked about life and things and drank mead. And Jody was up there to build a place right on the waterfront in front of Lord Jim's Lodge. So it was a great way to start our marriage together. And, 53 and some odd months later, we're still together.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I write some notes here in my paper, everyone. The most important one I wrote down was mead. I'll have to look that up. Where can we get that? It sure took me back. When reading the memoir, there's so many special things. But it was interesting what you said about basketball. I don't know if the audience can see, but I was thinking about something that would be meaningful for the interview. So Mike and I have a stress ball, and he isn't yet doing this and working in overtime. So I don't know if I've been working you overtime enough, but there's a little bit of fun here. The 6'3", I thought when I read that 6'3", like Mike, by the way, came up the stairs to the studio here. I thought, man, he's a tall guy. But if that's not tall enough for basketball, did you ever watch Michael Jordan's Netflix specials that they
Oh
did.
yeah, that was great.
Was that
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, really well done.
And one of the things when I was reading your book, my brain went to that scene in there where you said in your book, there was a part in there about a fellow who wasn't getting playtime, and you did something which was selfless. Do you remember that? Where you convinced the coach to bring him in. Do you remember that piece in the story there?
Yeah, no, he needed to finally get on the court after showing up for practices and doing the workouts, and so I thought it'd be a good time to get me out and have him go in. Yeah.
So everyone, the reason why I talked about that is, isn't it true that what shapes us? You talked about your parents, and I'm inspired by that. And not all the stories we hear are parents who have shaped us in a positive way. We have many children in the world, Mike, as you would know, that don't have parents, or perhaps they grew up with an addicted parent. My dad left when I was 12. He was fortunately, I love my dad. He passed away years ago, but addicted to alcohol. So the part of our brain doesn't develop as much, and we go into adulthood and we're not shaped as well maybe as someone who's had that nurturing. So I want to take a moment to honor your parents on this show. It's a great part of, I think, who you are. And it's really good that you can be vulnerable and talk about that. What was behind. I brought Becky up, your wife. I don't know how many years it is now, but as we read the story about your injury, which I'm going to turn to in a moment, there's somebody strong in your life right there, right?
Oh, she's wonderful. Yeah, that was the greatest thing that happened to me was by chance meeting her at a friend's birthday party in Kitsilano, and so that was great. And she really got along well with my parents. And my parents, as I said, my dad was a former Navy officer who was in the insurance business. And he had just such a great positive attitude. He never worried about people saying no, which you're in sales, people say no to you a lot.
That's right.
And what you're interested in are the ones that finally say yes.
Yeah.
And so he had a can-do attitude, just keep going at it, and be positive that you're eventually going to get somebody that's going to say yes, but realize. And this is one of the great things he said to me. He said, son, I never sold a life insurance policy in my life. What I did is help people with their needs.
Perfect.
Which is what you should be doing in sales, right?
Exactly.
And so that attitude and that approach, I took into the storefront law office. I'm there to help people with their needs, and poor people desperately need really good legal advice about their problems with the welfare system, or landlord and tenant, or criminal law, or family problems. And my mother was a very former school teacher who.
And you married a school teacher?
I married a school teacher, and she was a very staunch United Church Christian, and had a terrific faith that passed on to me basically the social gospel part of the United Church, that we're not just here to deal with our own religious faith and issues, but we're here to improve the community. We're here to apply our values, our Christian values, to improve society, to help people. So I gained some great inspiration and wisdom from the two parents, my mom and dad. They would live quite a while. They lived to my dad to 92 and my mom to 94. And
wow,
so I hope those genes.
I hope we all have those genes. I just thinking about my wife's dad. He was 93. Yeah, I certainly hope I have those genes. So, we're starting to connect the dots and really learn about who you are. That's interesting because the audience might not see it. I don't know, Mike, if they have a shot here, Mike, my camera guy, but I have a copy of the Holy Bible on the table here. What was interesting is when I read your book, Plan B, that faith piece jumped out at me. Because one of the things we have in common is, I was saying to Mike jokingly, that there's going to be two broken guys sitting at the table today. many of my followers know in 2018, Mike, I fell on my head in a bathtub.
Right.
I was doing a two-day ride for cancer. It was a freak thing, but it left me with unable to really walk properly, speak, double vision, things like that. And after a couple of years of my life stopping, I ended up night stalking at Costco and just keeping physical, because the doc says, get your butt out there or you're going to slip it further into depression. I said to my wife, Anna, I said, you know what? Can you go buy me a cross? So she bought me a cross, and I started reading the Bible. And so I denied my faith as a kid, but I was baptized a Catholic and I have my Christian values. And that was really interesting. And I appreciated that about your book, because I'm not sure how many politicians or media people will speak about faith. I think it's a foundation. And that takes us into the next part of the conversation, which is getting into your career highlights, achievements, and struggles in politics. So you ready to go there? We're going to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And everyone, I have a book on the table here. So if you see me flipping, it's because, not see me being flippant, but see me flipping. I made some things, highlights in this Plan B book that I might relate to here. So here's the next question I'm going to throw on the table, Mike, and then we're going to give a little surprise about your book for you. I'm going to call this Achievements and Struggles in Politics. So 1960, storefront lawyer, and then your long political career leading up to leaving politics, resigning in 1995 as premier. The question is, you're instrumental in shaping Vancouver as one of the most livable cities in the world and safeguarding BC's environment, Mike. What was one of the most challenging moments during your time as mayor or premier, and how did you overcome that? Take us through anywhere in that chapter.
Oh, well, there was a number of challenging moments. The big challenge I faced was before I got into politics, and I'd set up the storefront law office.
By the way, what is a storefront law office?
Well, storefront law office is a law office in a storefront on a commercial area, usually, where people feel friendly, feel welcomed. They're not coming into the 32nd floor of a downtown skyscraper into a expensive, intimidating law office. They're coming into a storefront that's non-intimidating, welcoming, and it's stocked with young law students who are trained in issues that are important to low-income people, like owing debt and dealing with landlords and dealing with government bureaucracies, welfare bureaucracies, employment insurance, and supervised by volunteer lawyers. So I was able to have these set up throughout the city at night, so it's convenient for people to come if they had jobs, and have the law students interview them, but under supervision of over 80 different lawyers who are all colleagues of mine from or from some of the major law firms in town, who felt it was important that they do this. And we finally had a number of offices all over the city. We're doing 10,000 clients a year.
Wow.
And having a real impact on them. And I was able to take that experience of 10,000 people a year and see the patterns, see which areas were the most prevalent, and the problems in those areas, whether it was being evicted by landlords unfairly without cause, whether it was dealing with arrogant government bureaucrats and or dealing with
Do you know any of those? You wouldn't know any of those people, would you?
No, unfortunately, I had to deal with them a lot, and or financial institutions that, in those days, when somebody couldn't make their payments, instead of sitting down with them and trying to get them to talk, they threatened people with threatening letters, and people would go even more into their shell, and so they didn't talk. So then they'd be sued and garnished. Their wages would be garnished, which immediately usually meant they would be fired from their job.
Wow.
So everybody lost. So I was able to get those laws, a lot of those laws, into a law reform part of this community law, which is advocating for change to the legal system, which was biased against poor people.
That's remarkable. So the journey into politics after the storefront. What was one of your most challenging moments in politics? And if I can just cite the book here because it might lead to that. Everyone, I have it on the table. I'm just going to pick it up. But Mike, just after you left politics, you wrote this book,
A Measure of Defiance.
Measure of Defiance. Let's get Mike to hold that up because we want to plug the book so people can find it. But in that book, there was a chapter. There was a reference. I'm just going to go back to my notes here. At the end, the last part of it, I think you said something about I'll never go back into politics, but you had to write that book to move through that part of the career.
Right,
just tell us about
a transition book.
Yeah,
that's the way I looked on it. And it was also the transition book when I left being a storefront lawyer and decided to get involved in politics. And the reason I did is because when I was running the storefront law office, I was sitting in my office and two women walked in. One, Darlene Mazzari, who was working for the city at the time as a social planner, and became a colleague of mine, ran with the team council that her and I ran with in 1972. It was Shirley Chan, who was an SFU student activist whose parents' store in Chinatown and their house in Strathcona were going to be destroyed by a freeway that the council wanted to build. That was going to come from the North Shore, along Stanley Park, elevated along the Vancouver waterfront, wipe out Gastown and Chinatown,
goodness,
and an 8-lane freeway all the way through the east side of Vancouver to connect up to the Trans-Canada Highway. And it was just going to wipe out these businesses and homes. And they came to see me if I could help. And I did. I was their legal spokesperson and gave them legal advice. And that, when I finally got inside the issue, I realized I was really mad at City Hall. You know, the usual reason that people decide to run because they're upset about the way they're being governed, or decisions are being made, or the lack of consultation. And so I decided that I got to do something about this. I got involved with the Electors Action Movement, which was unprecedented, coming together of people from a variety of political backgrounds and community activists, and a lot of the talent at UBC in the planning school and urban geographers like Walter Hardwick, who was a brilliant urban geographer who came up with the idea of a livable city and a livable region. And we campaigned on stopping the freeway.
It's incredible.
And we did.
That's incredible.
We're the only major city in Canada and the U.S. that doesn't have a major freeway going through it.
That's incredible. I was saying to you that my dad had signs in the front yard, NDP for me as a kid when I grew up. And I guess through that part of my life, some of these developments, some of these things that your leadership achieved were quite remarkable. Mike, we went through your bio at the beginning, and there's so many accomplishments. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to share two perspectives just from some of your writings. And don't worry, you're not going to need to pick up the stress ball and work it, because we're not going to get anything too tough. But here's an interesting one from Plan B, Mike, and then you can just give me your thoughts on this. It's almost like bookends. So I wrote here, reason for politics on page 7 in the book. Mike has said that the main reason for entering provincial politics was his commitment to settling treaties with the Aboriginal people, the issues closest to his heart, including sustainable cities, the environment, disability issues, Aboriginal rights, have all benefited from an approach that's profoundly human. And what you just told us is profoundly human. And that comes back to what we've learned so far about you and your roots. Then the other side of it, page 23, shortly after Mike's resignation in 1995, Premier, Mike would begin his work on his book, A Measure of Defiance. It was his chance to set his political legacy as mayor and premier on the record. It was also an uncompromising look at media ethics. Many were surprised by the work's tough stance on such issues as PAC journalism, etc. he was offered a position of the University of BC where he could concentrate on issues of sustainable development, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty remarkable, the bookends. And one of the things I just wanted to ask you about was what was the root or the driver behind your decision at that time to actually leave politics?
Well, I'd been doing politics for a quarter of a century by that time and got through 9 elections. And my intention was to just run and lead the NDP through winning a second term for the first time, and then get out after a couple of years. So I wasn't going to stay around long.
Yeah.
But I shortened the time because we had a scandal inside the NDP caused by a fellow by the name Dave Stupich,
Yes.
who misused a charity called the Nanaimo Commonwealth Society and misused $2 million worth of proceeds from bingo and from raffles and that was a total shock to me that happened. It became a real feeding frenzy of the media beating down my door. What are you going to do about it? And basically blaming me for it. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I finally decided, this is time to get out. I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to get it set up properly so that we can clean it up. The NDP makes changes internally so that it can never happen again. And we'll make legislative changes so that nonprofit societies and this whole gambling area is properly regulated and there's proper oversight.
Yeah.
So I got that all set up, and then I announced that I was going to retire, and that led to Glenn Clark successfully becoming the new leader and successfully winning the election in May of 1996.
Yeah, and you left a good foundation. One piece of paper, I just want to pick this up here. We'll edit that out. Just to commend the book. Everybody, the book, where I'm with Mike Harcourt here, former Premier of British Columbia, 25-year career in politics, incredible stories. Again, the book, Mike Harcourt, A Measure of Defiance. One of the book reviews that stood out for me that was actually published by Daniel Gothrope. That's the last part of it that really touched my heart. So I want to read this out to acknowledge you, Mike. It says, A Measure of Defiance was inspired as much by a sense of injustice surrounding Harcourt's resignation as by any pride he may have felt for his many achievements. The fact he released his book within a year of leaving office, while events surrounding his departure remained fresh, suggests that he was a man of honor to set the record straight. And then it goes on to say, nonetheless, the Harcourt and co-author Wayne Skeen have produced the most constructive, well-written, self-critical, humorous book of memoirs yet written by a former Premier of BC. I just want to acknowledge that and commend you on this book. They say that the buck's at the top and leaders take accountability. And so what we've heard from you and after reading through this is that, you took accountability. And that's something that doesn't happen. As a CEO myself, who's come from industry, sometimes there are leaders who, even if that wasn't your issue, who won't deal with it, will sweep it under the rug, trying to find blame. That's not what you did. And you had the courage to go and write a book to set the record straight. The last thing I want to ask you about that before we move on to the next part of the story is something I'm struggling with in my doctoral work. And that is, Mike, your opinion on how do people, let's talk about the mainstream and the social media. There's a proliferation of information out there. So, for example, somebody can say something and media will put a narrative out on that mainstream. But today, the next generations, they're all watching YouTube and Twitter, which is now known as X, etc. So you find all these other people who are putting information out before even the mainstream can talk about the facts. Then you find that a story will be put out and there can be misinformation or disinformation where, let's just say we'll take something that someone said and we'll remove a few words and then we'll put that out as a narrative. And then my daughter, who's 27 years old, and I'm bringing this all together at a point, just graduated from university. She doesn't watch mainstream, but she looks at social media.
Right.
And so the struggle is how does one today in this world distinguish between opinion and fact? because there's so many people out there, as you know, and that's why I love this book, who will put an opinion out there, but it's not based on fact. So what's
not based on evidence.
So what's your advice to the next generations, the 20-somethings, the 30, who are really the leaders of the next world? When it comes to media, how do we determine, the truth, fact from opinion? Any strategies?
Well, I think that's really a key point, Tom, and it's learning to think critically. That's what education should be about.
Yeah,
is not memorizing a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to forget. It's learning how to think, and how to think correctly, how to sift out what's fact from fiction, what's the best evidence, who do you trust, who don't you trust.
absolutely.
And so I see that as why a good education system is really key, and a good public education system, so that every child, every young person has an opportunity to learn to think critically and to work together in teams and solve problems. So that to me is one of the key lessons that I picked up is don't just take it for granted what you read. For example, this idiotic statement by Donald Trump that he read somewhere that the Haitian
cats and the dogs
in Springfield are killing people's pets and dogs and eating them, and he pathetically said he's basing it on the fact that he read somewhere that somebody had heard from a friend that was happening. No evidence whatsoever. So being able to think critically and say, well, that really is not true. And so my advice to young people is learn to think independently. Realize that a lot of the information you're getting on the internet and podcasts and sites are just made up. They're not true. They're not based on facts. They're not based on good evidence. They're not based on people being credible. They're in a lot of cases, people just saying what's in their minds that could be fiction, just totally not true whatsoever. So you have to independently exercise your own judgment and think critically.
It's so insightful. Everybody, teaching moments here on the show with Mike Harcourt. Mike, it's such a blessing, what you just said. And I want to go back to what you said about the education system. Until I started doing some work with my doctoral and researching, I didn't realize, and everybody, this is just a little tip, you can go into Google and search Google Scholar. And the word Google Scholar will bring up another search engine. And you can put keywords in there, like, for example, you can put media or discourse. And you get lots and lots of PDFs and articles. These are cited, research-based literature. So that, what Mike said, taught us a lot. Mike, my thing is, after struggling with this for years, especially with the work I'm doing to understand, because I'm in the media space, is I come down to, for me, a simple thing, which might be too simple, but that is my gut. So if somebody says something in the news or the media, and it just doesn't feel right in my gut, I'm not going to be apathetic, which sadly in Canada, a lot of our voters, they don't do that extra step of research and digging. But I'm going to dig, I'm going to research. And I know to a lot of you out there, you don't know how to do that, but do a search on Google Scholar. Pick up a book on a topic and read it, and talk to your fellow Canadians and learn. The last thing I'll say on this, team, Mike, is really interesting, because I saw a politician do a speech. We'll get into the details of the speech. And then I watched the news and I saw the mainstream's reporting on it. And my gut said, wait, there's something wrong here. The reporting was completely different from actually what the actual speech was. What the politician said and what the narrative was left out some stuff.
Yeah.
So what I did, knowing this, what you've just taught us, is I decided to go and do some research. So I started doing my own research and found the truth. I found the actual speech, etc. So thank you very much for that. It's great teaching. And on that note, we want to acknowledge and honor you with a book review. So this is another segment. We're going to edit this in, everybody. But are you ready to get excited and have a little fun with a book review here?
Sure.
All right, everybody. So I'm going to ask my wingman in the studio here. We're going to get Mike to hold up this book, Plan B. Mike, just hold it up to the camera and read the title of it. Just read it out loud.
It's Plan B, One Man's Journey from Tragedy to Triumph. And it has my name, Mike Harcourt, and John Lekich, who's a very good journalist, writer, who's a successful author, and before that, a journalist with the Globe and Mail and other newspapers like that, including the Georgia Straight, where he did the cultural critique movie section for a long time. And he helped me put my words into really good, readable shape.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed writing it with him. And he's a guy that understands disabilities because he was born with multiple sclerosis from a birthing accident and has been disabled for all his life.
Incredible.
And so he and I could agree on the messages of hope for people that have had terrible things happen to them.
Yeah.
And they've got to get on with Plan B. Plan A is over.
Exactly.
Get over it. Now you got to get on with Plan B, or you stay stuck in Plan E, which is Plan A, which is poor me. Look at me. Life is terrible. And you're stuck there, and you're going to lead a miserable life. So you just got to accept the fact that bad things happen to good people, and you got to make some adjustments. And that's recreate a new life for yourself called Plan B.
Well, that's remarkable. Everybody, teaching moments just from what you heard there. Come back, watch the show, play it back, show your children. There's one thing that stood out was the resilience. So I'm revealing now on the show for the first time. I'm a published author, but I do book reviews. And I just want to tell the audience, Mike, I think you know this, that author's work's not known. The only time our work is known is if somebody reads our book and they post a review. They tell somebody about it. And so I've written you a review. And I'd like to read it out loud for the sake of the interview. And I'll gift it to you. It's already on Amazon. So if you can bear with me, it'll take a minute.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
This was posted September 17th, yesterday. My daughter's birthday, by the way. Posted on Amazon.ca. I titled the review, A Raw, Inspiring Journey of Resilience and Recovery. Must read. So here we go, Mike. Mike Harcourt's Plan B initially grabbed me and didn't let go. The hard-hitting storytelling pulls you into the jagged edges of his life-altering accident, his fall from a deck into the ocean, a moment that changed everything. Mike's account is gripping, and the way his co-author John Lekich brings those moments to life is masterful. What struck me most, Mike, was the human side of a man many only know as a political figure. We seldom get such an intimate window into the personal struggles of public figures, but here we get to see Mike's persona fully. His humor, resilience, and grit shine through every page. It was incredibly heartwarming to read about his wife, who I called Betty, who I know now is Becky. Becky, who became the heroine of this story, and we'll dedicate the show today, I think, to her too. And your son, Justin. I have a son named Justin. The difference is yours has an E and mine is an I.
Right.
Who throughout the book, by the way, Mike, there's comments from Justin that just tear me up. How he spoke about you as pride and how he spoke about you as a father, something I never really did much with my own dad because he was a different kind of guy. And his son, Justin, whose love and care for his father were inspiring. Having faced my life-changing brain injury myself, Mike's journey gave me a deep perspective on overcoming adversity with positivity, love, and the power of staying connected to those around us. I especially appreciated the 10 lessons shared at the end of the book, lessons that speak not only to recovering from physical injury, but also to navigating life's most challenging moments. This book is not just about recovery. It's about what it means to be human in the face of tremendous hardship. I recommend it wholeheartedly, especially to anyone facing their own personal Plan B in life. Tom got a 5-star review. Congratulations, Mr. Harcourt.
Oh, thank you, John. Yeah, much appreciated.
And we're going to get you to sign that. Everybody, we're going to track in the next couple of weeks, whoever can come on, like the episode, put a comment. We're going to do a raffle and get that book out to you. That takes us into the next part of the journey. Just a couple more here to go. Are you doing well? You're You're having fun, Mike?
Absolutely. I'm enjoying this, Tom. I'm enjoying talking with you and getting a lot of good thoughts, both of us, out on the table.
Awesome. And I don't see Mike picking up his ball and doing this. So I think either I'm a really good interviewer or he's just a really, well, let's put it this way. When I read you a couple things and we talk about the next part of the story here, you're going to understand why he doesn't get rattled. I think you must have an S on your chest, Superman, or maybe there's a divine intervention going on here or something. So let's get into it. The question I wrote, and we'll throw it out and just riff on it a bit, is Resilience and Hope, the Journey of Recovery. So your recovery from paralysis is a story of grit and determination, but it's also one of profound personal transformation. So in what ways did this experience shift your outlook in life, leadership, and service to others, particularly in the context of your work with spinal cord research? But before I do that, I want to just get something out of the book here. So just bear with me while first of all, Mike, why don't you just tell us while I'm looking this up, why did you write that book?
I wrote it because when I was in GF Strong in the rehab facility that you get sent to after a spinal cord injury or a stroke or some other affliction like that where you need rehabilitation, I noticed, particularly in the spinal cord hospital wing that I was in, that there were a number of young guys who had terrible motorcycle accidents or auto accidents or just skiing and fell on their neck and broke it, or diving off a cliff into a pond or a pool and they dove into a shallow area where there's a rock. And I noticed that those that had poor me, they were just depressed and their life had been ruined and they were giving up. That they didn't rehab very well, and when they got out, their lives were mostly very terrible, and they lost relationships, they lost touch with people, they became more insular and more depressed, and then I also saw young people, young guys that decided that they were going to do something about it, that they couldn't change the fact that their neck was broken or that their spinal cord was severed. But they were going to get on with life. They're going to create a new life for themselves. And they had the courage to start that journey. As difficult as it was, as exhausting as the rehab was, as slow and unproductive as it could be sometimes. And I just felt that I needed to get the story out so that people that are facing adversity can see that they have a choice. You stay stuck in plan A, or you can choose plan B. And when I was speaking on this a number of years ago to a whole bunch of different groups and people, I'd asked them a very simple question. I said, put up your hands, any of you in this room that have never had any adversity in your life.
Hopefully none went up.
No, nobody put up their hands.
Wow.
And I said, you see, everybody has hardship. And the issue isn't it's going to happen to you. We know it's going to happen. It's just, what are you going to do about it?
It's a matter of when.
It's a matter of choice.
I just, page 69 in the book, you wrote this, or you quoted it, Winston Churchill, when you're going through hell, just keep on going. And that just stuck with me. And I want to read something from the book about just at the beginning here about this, Mike, then we'll keep going into that part of the story. November 30th, 2002, everyone, changed Mike's life forever. He slipped and fell from a cottage deck, which led to a life-altering injury. I'm just going to read this. Let me just find the right page. Hold on a minute here. 2 and 24. There's so many great things in here. I lost we'll edit all this out. Here we go. When you read this book, and Mike, you know this obviously, and I hope I'm not triggering you, because it's painful to think about moments when we have these type of issues. I certainly know that from my own fall. But if you allow me to, for the sake of
Sure, please.
honoring and putting people into what I call the hero's journey into this moment, this book is written in an incredible way. Everybody, you need to get it and make a read, review it, because it puts you there. So listen to this. This was Becky, your wife's first account of the fall. For no particular reason, Becky changed her mind about waiting for Mike to rejoin her in their gardening chores. She went looking for him instead. Now, this is after you
Fall.
I know you believe you were carrying 2 pails of water to fill your hot tub. I think the water
Slipped on a wet deck.
Slipped on a wet deck.
And sort of slipped off.
Yeah.
Carrying 2 buckets of water.
Yeah.
Which caused the momentum and the mass
of
the water pushed me off the deck and hydroplaned over the 10 feet of wet grass off the cliff.
So she says she went looking for him instead. The first place she headed for was the deck, a platform without a railing that stretched out from the living room and jutted to within 15 feet of a rock cliff over the sea. What was there instead sent a shiver up her neck. A stray bucket lay adrift on the damp wood, and one of the black leather carpet slippers Mike had been wearing was lying nearby at an odd angle. And then this is just the last piece of it. Mike after tumbling on the deck. That was my footnote. One thing Mike understood immediately after tumbling off the deck, he was gravely injured. And I think you said or you thought, hell no, I'm not going to go this way. But that's probably the impulse that saved your life, because I was able to lift my head long enough to get some breath. Now and we'll let you chime in on this in a minute, but let me just finish this, because you were face down in the ocean. When Becky found you, and from reading the book, everyone, I won't steal the thunder, it took her a lot to get down those stories and find him. When Becky got down to the beach, Mike was lying with his face fully submerged in the water. She waded into the sea and tried immediately to turn her unconscious husband over. She's a petite woman, and even with the adrenaline pumping through, it proved far from easy. It was using all my strength, she says. The tide was coming in. And then I'll read this last bit. She finally managed to turn you over, Mike. Your head was bruised, your face blue and bloody. But Becky concentrated on clearing the water and debris from your mouth and with her fingers. And he made a sound, she said. I remember him making a sound. Wow. Tell us about that moment.
Well, I was drifting in and out of consciousness, so and I was still in a state of shock. But Becky was absolutely magnificent. She stayed cool and calm, and after she'd done the right thing of coming around and getting my face out of the water and propping me up as the tide was coming in, she immediately called 911, the emergency line, and it really was almost miraculous how everything kind of happened to keep me alive, because it so happened that the 911 line she called for Bender, the police or the fire and ambulance emergency crews were all having a training session at the major fire hall.
Wow.
And so they were all there. They were able to come immediately, about 12 minutes from our house, down and deal with my problem and stabilize my neck and put me on a platform and then have me picked up and taken to the island clinic.
Yeah.
Where there just happened to be the experienced doctor on hand, and Dr. Don Williams, who was a really experienced guy who happened to have just the right medicine to inject my neck to keep the swelling from going down, from going up and keeping it down.
Wow.
And from there, able to get a helicopter to land in the school play yard, which is right just across the street from the clinic. So I could be immediately put in the helicopter and taken to Vancouver to VGH, where they have one of the top 3 spinal cord surgeons just happened to be on duty that night, Dr. Marcel Dvorak, and his team.
Yeah.
And so they were available to operate on me. So all that kind of just happened quite
Well,
miraculously.
Well, Mike, thank you for sharing that. I mean, the word miraculous, and I'm a faith-based guy, but honestly, there's a higher power there. And I really believe this is part of the hero's journey narrative of story that, people are put in situations for a reason to learn something and to help the world. And I think all the work you did from the storefront lawyer through politics to that moment, we might look at that and say, how could this happen to a brilliant and kind guy like Mike? And I think your life, there was more to do. I just read this here so everybody gets a perspective. This is from Dr. Dvorak. The bad news was Mike had what Dvorak calls a high energy injury type of accident, most commonly associated with car crash or diving injuries. Doctor speculates that in all likelihood, Mike landed on his head during the fall. This impact damaged vertebrae and displaced the disc. If it wasn't for the split decision, and I read in here somewhere, I can't remember how you said it, when they asked you, do you want to do the surgery? Because apparently they said there's a risk to doing the surgery. Could be more complications. True to your nature and how you were in politics, I think, I can't remember your words, but you said, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And that, going back, you wouldn't change that decision, would you?
No, not at all.
And that probably is what made a difference.
Well, it's why I was able to have a badly damaged, not severed, a badly damaged upper C3-4 injury in my neck, and have it operated on successfully by Dr. Dvorak and his team, and then to rehab, and I was evaluated as a very likely candidate to be rehabbed successfully and gain a lot of my faculties back and abilities back. So they have an Asian system of from A to E of evaluating, and I was the top 5% for being able to be rehabbed. So I was taken to GF Strong and asked for the roughest, toughest physio they had, and I got her. Major General Mora.
I was just going to ask you, what about the general? What about the general?
She was tough. She was great. She worked me hard twice a day.
She asked for you in particular, right?
Yeah. No, we asked for each other, and she was great. She was tough, but it really got me from not being able to move anything to being able to sit up and then stand up and then walk.
It's remarkable. There's so much more in the book, everyone. Mike, you went from VGH and then GF Strong, I think, for a lot of your rehab. Now, I know a little bit about rehab, not the same as yours, but I went to an advanced brain clinic, and they had to, through drills over and over, reteach neuronal pathways to walk straight and do things. So the brain is plastic, and you proved through, I think, your resilience, quite frankly, because you were stubborn, and there's no holds barred. And I think the drill sergeant was the one you needed. I want to read this out for just one final passage from this. It's a beautiful story. And this is when your son Justin came into the picture.
Right.
And I want to honor your son. I mean, I'm going to dedicate the show to your whole family. 22-year-old Justin Harcourt was in an upbeat mood. He called his parents' North Pender Island number on Sunday, December 1st from Stockholm, intending to tell his mom and dad what a great time he was having. I think he was starting some school soon, London School of Economics. He was backpacking in Europe with a friend. The trip was intended to serve as a break before he started his graduate studies in urban planning. When no one answered at the cottage, Justin phoned the family's Vancouver number. It was around 9 a.m. Becky was at home waiting for her son's regular call. He said, I quote, "I knew immediately that something was wrong. It was just the tone of my mom's voice." Tell us about the impact that had on Justin, and we see that you two became very close during the next chapters. He sounds like a special man.
He is. He's a wonderful young guy now, 44, and
he's a young guy.
I was 22. He was just getting ready to finish up his master's the London School of Economics and Urban Design and Planning, and he was just traveling, and he immediately flew home and helped Becky get me settled in and settle down and into the post rehab mode. And he came to help me leave GF Strong, and I left earlier than the team that the rehab doctor I had.
Yeah,
she and the rehab physios and the social worker and the psychologist and the whole team. They sat me down after they'd analyzed me in early January and said, Mike, you're going to come out of here in a wheelchair in 6 months. And I said, no, here's what I want to do. I want to come out of here in 2 to 3 months. And I want to be walking. And I need to do that because I'm playing in a golf tournament in June. So I got to be up and about and be able to swing a golf club by then. So let's work our way back from now to the end of February and get me out of here walking by the end of February.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we did. I mean, I walked. I had Justin hold of me and helping me.
You did.
It's with canes. Yeah.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
They actually describe that in the book, everyone, about your partners. I was almost thinking that, okay, if you got on the course, you couldn't walk, you could lie down. They could teach you to use a putter like a pool cue. And
the big problem was that BCTV had a reporter. Yeah, we were playing in Kamloops at the Dunes golf course up there, and the reporter was a good guy, Alan Edwards. He showed up with a camera at the first tee, so I was swinging on TV, and everybody watching me swing for the first time. I'm going, oh, I like
to see that replay.
Better be okay. And actually, I connected with it, knocked it 150 yards down the center of the fairway.
No kidding. We got to get that replay. We got to get that.
That was. I went, whew. That worked out okay.
Let's bring this chapter of the story to close, and we got one more segment for you. I'm having a lot of fun with you here, Mike. Thanks for letting us do that, by the way.
That's glad to, Tom. Glad to.
You might see it on the table, but I bring everywhere I go my friend, Mr. Brain, and everybody. This is a life-size brain. I bought it and started studying it with my own recovery, but you have the brain, then you have the brain stem, which connects to the spinal cord. So you can get a sense just what the implications more with what you heard happen to Mike. So here you are in the recovery, but during your recovery, there's a lot of things that happen, including I read a lot about how in the wards where you were, you helped other young people,
right?
With your inspiration. You also got involved with the Rick Hansen Foundation. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I did. Well, one of the things I did is to encourage young people, particularly young guys, to don't give up.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we were able to get some fun stuff going too. We got Joe Cohen of Sony.
Yeah.
He and his brothers donated a big television set to GF Strong.
Nice.
And we were able to tune into the Vancouver Canuck games, and I was able to get some bets going. About loony each. And I was the bookie. I was the guy collecting all the loonies from not just the patients but the staff too. And we'd all be in there, cheering on the Canucks and people wondering whether they were going to collect either 2-1 Canuck bet or 5-1 Edmonton or whatever it was. And somebody said to me, "Gee, that's illegal. You could be charged for that." I said, "No. I'm an old criminal defense lawyer, and it's not illegal what I'm doing because I'm not making any money out of it. I'm doing it voluntarily. So no crime committed."
From Bingo Gate to Canuck Gate. That could have been another fake news scandal for sure. That's hilarious. It's in the book, and I kind of smiled at that one. I've never really been a betting man. But you know what's interesting on a serious note? There was a post out from a young Canuck player just the other day who said he couldn't get back and come to practice because he was diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Right.
And so you think about all these stories, and we don't even know them, but they're out there. Mm-hmm. And so the things that you're doing to inspire through your story. I think we need to have more people tell their stories. Rick Hansen Foundation, how can people...
Oh, Rick's just a wonderful human being. I mean, he and Terry Fox are British Columbians that have had a huge impact. Terry on cancer research with his runs, over $1 billion they've raised.
Yeah.
And Rick with his work on spinal cord injuries. And not only that, but disabilities, people with disabilities in a much broader sense. And Rick and I are working on a project now to have the provincial government bring in funding for everybody with disabilities that makes sure that they have access to services throughout the province. They have affordable housing, accessible affordable housing available. They have transportation they can utilize. They have an enjoyable life, not being lonely and isolated, but socializing and seeing other people. So Rick has dedicated himself to helping other people after his terrible accident he had when he was 17 years old and a high school student up in Williams Lake. And he bummed a ride with somebody that was coming back from a fishing trip with a pal. And the guy stopped in his truck and said, climb in the back. And while they were coming back to Williams Lake, the truck skidded off the road and flipped over, and Rick landed and broke his neck and his back, and is now not a quadriplegic. He's a paraplegic. Yeah, he's really strong. He works out. Oh,
his upper body is
just really strong, and he's just a very inspiring, wonderful guy. Glad to work with him.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Then offline I can ask you how I can get him to come and talk to me on the show, especially because I'm all about helping people with disabilities now. Remarkable. If you don't know the story of Rick Hansen, everyone, Google it. He's a local hero. Quite something. I remember the Wheels in Motion tour. There's a little nugget in the book. You're so too humble how he came and I think through you in politics presented something to get some support and didn't quite go the way he had wanted. And as you walked out the door, the story says you put hand in pocket and handed him some money, and that's just
personal check. Yeah,
the kind of man that you are. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I was a little upset. I wanted to give him publicity in front of council and have the media cover it, but I also wanted the council to approve a grant to help kick off his campaign, and they didn't. They turned him down. You need 8 votes.
Wow.
To have 11 person. You need 2/3.
Yeah.
And they turned him down. I was really ticked off. And so as he was leaving, I said, Rick, here's a personal check, and I'll be there when you head out. And good luck to you.
This is what it looks like when Mike is ticked off. That's stoic Mike. But again, I would think, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but if somebody doesn't have the wherewithal to understand the bigger picture that other people, society can't be sustainable, especially for people with disability without leaders like yourself. Hey, we have one more quick segment. This one I think is going to be fun. Are you ready to imagine with AI?
Sure.
Mike's smiling, everyone. If you see that smile on camera, he's probably saying to himself, what is this guy doing with me? We started this new segment. I think it's a lot of fun. You know about AI. I'm sure.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my father was
good and bad.
Yeah, my father, when I was a kid, was talking about AI. He worked at BCIT as an educator. He would teach. He traveled the province teaching the Western Joint Electrical Training Society. He actually wrote a book and was teaching the apprentices. Dad was talking about AI when I was a kid. However, we're going to imagine with AI. So 3, 2, 1. Hey, Mike, we're going to imagine with AI. So I had a conversation with AI. And if you don't know how it works, you collaborate and you have conversations, and then AI together creates things. So I said, what it would be like to create 3 photographs, one of the past Mike Harcourt, and I gave it some information about your past in politics and your career and what you did. What about the present Mike Harcourt, the survivor after the fall? And then what about the future Mike Harcourt, and particularly, Mike, how's he going to change the world from everything, from all the dots we connected through critical thinking? because of the information that you shared with us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up each photo one at a time. When you look at the photo, you have about 30 seconds. You don't say anything, but I'd like you to say one word, a feeling, an emotion, something that it might evoke in you. That's all. We're going to give you these signed, autographed as commemorative for the show. So here's the first, the past Mike Harcourt. The descriptor is this: a 1970s, 80s Vancouver cityscape with blueprints and urban development symbolizing Mike Harcourt's role in shaping a livable city. The scene conveys optimism, progress, and the importance of urban planning and environmental policy. Mike, take a look at that, and just when you're ready, one word. Emotion, feeling, thought.
Well, it pretty well covers some of the downtown Vancouver high rises and mixed use in the water and livable. That's what Vancouver is striving to become, and
all right.
And most people recognize it throughout the world.
Thank you for that, Mike. And when you're watching on screen, everybody, and you watch back the replay, what we look for is we look for the body language and we look for the inflection in the guest voice. You can certainly see some changes and some passion in Mike. So, Mike, drum roll, please. Are you ready to see the present Mike Harcourt? And I collaborated and said, look, from the fall, moving forward.
Right.
You ready to see that image? Okay. I'm going to put it in front of you. And as I do this time, we'll put it up on the screen now. I'm going to narrate, and I just want you to take it all in. Don't say anything.
Okay.
And then one word or a few words, emotions, feelings. Sure. Okay, so let me just read what we're looking at. A serene scene of a cottage on Pender Island with a walker leaning near the porch. The setting represents Mike Harcourt's resilience and recovery after his spinal cord injury, highlighting a calm, reflective mood of healing and rebuilding. And before you say anything, we didn't give any pictures, so maybe not be a perfect likeness, but when you're ready, one word or a feeling or a thought, Mike.
Peaceful.
Absolutely.
Pender is just so peaceful and quiet and beautiful, and we still love going there, and we did 3 months this summer just living on Pender, and it is so peaceful and quiet compared to the city and all the sirens and traffic noises.
Yeah, we know a bit about that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a studio here that has sound curtains. Thank you for that. Now, are you ready for the third and final image?
Sure.
Everybody imagining with AI, this one we're going to put up on the screen right now. Let me just find it on my iPad. Okay. So before I put this out in front of you, we said that based on everything that we know about Mike, I fed AI some information: sustainable cities, resilience, policy guide, focus on policy, making the planet better, et cetera, et cetera. And you might even see a thread of Aboriginal rights or something in there, and disabilities. So drum roll.
All right.
I'm going to read this out, so don't say anything yet. Just take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
This is a picture of a futuristic city with eco-friendly buildings, indigenous designs, wheelchair access infrastructure. The scene reflects Mike Harcourt's vision for sustainable, inclusive urban development, where accessibility and respect for indigenous rights are integral. Go.
Optimism.
Optimism.
I think we're going to be able to have sustainable green cities. We're going to be able to have a new relationship with our Aboriginal citizens. And we're going to be able to have those cities be accessible to people with disabilities.
Yeah.
And accessible to low income and middle income people, rather than what we have now, which is the housing is far too expensive.
Yes.
And people's incomes aren't enough to afford their rent or be able to afford to own a place. But I think we can resolve that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still active in politics and on public issues.
Well, thank you for that. You're active in a lot, Mike. So we'll put in the show notes when we produce a show, things like Rick Hansen Foundation, things that are meaningful to you so people can know about that. That's incredible. I don't know if you can do it to Mike in the studio here, but can you flash those three pictures across? Can you, if you can do it quickly? Otherwise, don't worry. We're going to keep going here. but just put 1, 2, 3. So,
Yeah.
Whoops. There was the past.
Right.
I'm just trying to show Mike on my iPad here. There was the present.
And
And
the future.
there was the future.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible and not too bad from AI.
Really captured it. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Well, AI isn't all bad and terrible. I mean, AI, if properly used, can help people that are doing repetitive work that, we resolved a lot of that with Henry Ford's assembly lines and automating a lot of the work.
Absolutely.
And we can do the same with a lot of repetitive tasks that people don't need to do, and they can concentrate on our being human and our ability to be creative, think.
Well spoken. Thank you, Mike. I think there's lots of things that are potential with AI, lots of risks too. It's like any new technology. My belief is that we have to teach people how to use it productively.
You got it.
Police it. But here's the thing. When I was planning to do this interview with you, I actually collaborated and I said to AI, I just narrated, and they call it creating a prompt. So I said, here's my situation, a studio that's a flight up. Mike has these challenges with mobility, et cetera, a few things. What's the best way to make him feel the most comfortable? What are things I should be thinking about? It was incredible what came out of it. Some of the little things I never would have thought of because I don't have the limitations that others
Right.
So quite something. Well, let's move to wrap up. Everybody, have you enjoyed so far the journey? We're with Mike Harcourt. We took him on a journey to Plato's Garden, talking about his roots in early life, achievement struggles in politics, from public service to personal injury, the journey of recovery. This is my favorite, resilience and hope. And finally, he did a great job, Mike, in connecting the dots, macro, meso, micro. And those who come into podcast studios, particularly high leaders, come in with their egos, and they just want to talk about their favorite thing. He blew the doors off the interview, in my opinion. So let's finish with this. I'm going to make a statement, then just read something and let you comment.
Sure.
Today, you're involved in shaping communities. You're a self-described recovering politician. With the wisdom of hindsight, you look ahead at the future. And so you wrote at the end of your book, and again, Plan B, everyone, I encourage you to get it, read it, and write a review for Mike. You wrote 10 lessons. And so we don't have time for all 10, but I'm going to throw out my favorite 4 and then just ask you to riff on it. Tell us what you wrote. So at the end of the book, Mike said 10 lessons. Number 1, life is a precious, fragile gift. Number 4, the right attitude towards adversity is essential. Number 8, the need to stay engaged. And number 10, the importance of love, family, and friends. Go.
Well, they're all part of the 10 lessons that I've picked up in life, and life is precious and fragile, and you never know when you are going to lose it, what's going to happen to you, and so enjoy every day and give thanks for it.
Oh.
So that's lesson number 1, and the right attitude is being thankful and positive. And one of the ways to be active is to be engaged in your community, because people that are just me, and the heck with anybody else, I think they lead stunted lives by not being engaged in their greater community. And the importance of love, family, and friends. What would life be like if you didn't share love with your family and your friends, and them share it with you too? And that's why life is precious and fragile, and you have to work at those friendships and those relationships.
Absolutely.
And good luck to y'all.
Good luck to y'all. A little bit of the Albertan coming out there. That's just wonderful. I sent Mike a meme, texted him a picture. And now in the book, I learned that somebody put you in front of Eckhart Tolle's work. And I don't know if you remember, recently he came to town. Harcourt filled the convention center. My wife and I went, and it was remarkable. You could hear a pin drop, and there must have been 20,000 people there.
Right.
The thing about his work, The Power of Now, you talked about the fact that really helped you staying in the now. And I think I sent you a meme that I found to tease you a bit. I think he said, giving love is when you can see yourself in somebody else. And I just want to say that from me to you and your whole family, I love you and your family. I can see things in myself now in a different way, and I'm a better man because of this conversation. And I know that it's going to touch many. So we have an induction and a quick award for you. You thought you were finished, but not quite. And before you go, I do want you to start squeezing that stress ball so that I think I kicked your butt a little bit in the interview. He's so stoic. You're so calm. That's like nerves of steel. That's just awesome. So let me finish with this. When I interview, I write down 4 leadership words. I don't script it, that come to mind when you're talking. I didn't write them down, but I'm just going to take them out of my head. The first one is resilience, clearly from your story. The second one is leadership. An egoless leader is the best kind of leader, and a leader who surrounds themselves with people better than them. And that's what you've done. The third, which we just talked about, was love. It comes out of you, but the fact that you came here, Mike, to do this with me, despite everything in your busy schedule. But since I've met Mike, everyone, he's never looked down on me. Sometimes I've said, I have vision and a bit of latency with some things from my concussion. He's always treated me like the most important person in the room. You do that so well. It's littered in the books, comments from other people about that. A part of you in politics I don't think people really got to know, including I would have liked to have seen that Dodge Dart you drove around the province in your first year. And the first one is give you the word. They say the difference between knowledge and wisdom is time. So wisdom. Those are my 4 leadership words. I honor you, and we're going to now induct you into what's called the Quiet Warrior community. So, Mike, if you can just turn your head, and for the people in the audience, what we're pointing at on the screen is a challenge coin. Are you familiar with challenge coins, Mike?
No.
So you'll get, this will be something I'll give to you. Challenge coins were created in World War I, and they were given to soldiers to commit to each other in community. So they're basically coins. What you see on the screen here, I had this created when I started the show in 2016, is they're hand-painted and crafted. They're fairly hefty, beautiful coins. The front is the image of the show. But when you flip it over, the back is intricate, the image of what Joseph Campbell's narrative about story. He calls it the hero's journey narrative. They're absolutely unbiased, but they're beautiful. We've given these out now there's 290 of them in the world, and 8 billion people. I remember saying to myself, I want an award for the 1% in society who come, reveal their story, their dark story, their good story, and prove to us through their work, Mike, that they've done something with that to make the world a better place. So I welcome you to the Quiet Warrior community. We have the award here in a card.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mike.
Tom, thank you.
And I have a small surprise. I left it at home, but I'll probably drop it off. But I have a second coin, and I decided as I was preparing for the interview that I'm going to give you a second one you give to Becky.
Oh, great.
Because she was truly the heroine behind this story.
Thank goodness.
So on that note, we'll give you the last word. Anything you'd like to say before we
No, just good on you for doing this podcast, and
thank you
for the thoughtfulness you put into it, and all the other people you've had and will be having on to deal with really important issues and subjects, and they sound like neat people you're involved with.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. I received that praise with honor. And everybody, like you've heard from Mike and so much we've talked about, find that true passion that you have, find the true purpose in your life, and live life the way you deserve and desire. And we'll see you all again on the Quiet Warrior Show. Thank you very much, Mike, and you have an awesome day ahead.
Thank you. I'll sign these books now, Tom.
Thank you for listening to the Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.create.ca